singing to me them soft words, taking me to your secret.
Hey, welcome everyone to Some Say Sappho. I'm so glad to see all of you. I'm just going to say a short introductory little speech, and then Sam is going to read a poem. What does being a lesbian have to do with poetry? Isn't it true that since Sappho's splendid rise and tragic erasure, lesbians who write poems are erased even before they could rise, being completely ignored, and if not ignored, mocked and degraded? I want to celebrate my lesbian canon. Who will celebrate with me? Not many. Poetry is already marginalized, and if a poet happens to be a lesbian, Elizabeth Bishop, Mary Oliver, would anyone know from her poems? We are expected to ignore that side of ourselves, but I won't, and so I created Lavender Review and Headmistress Press. When literary culture mocks and attacks and ignores who you really are, a lesbian poet, your world is very small and tight. I need to speak about my experience of isolation and solitude and how gradually life expands. First one word, then another word, tentative. Then popular culture seems to accept lesbians, but lesbian poets are still in metaphorical prison and marginalized. Chloe still won't speak about Olivia for fear of the male-dominated gatekeepers. I feel the need to speak about my devotion to Chloe plus Olivia, running the risk, of course, of being canceled. How is being canceled different from being erased? Who is there to tell about it? That's a quote from a poem by Myles. Here's a quote from Susan Griffin. We are a community of those coming to speech from silence. This is an elementary fact we share, a history of illiteracy, suffocation, spiritual and literal, burnings of body and work, the weight of the unutterable surrounding all of our lives. And in no way can this shared history be separated from what we write today, nor from our love of each other's voices.
In response to Mary's opening, I'm going to read my title poem from my book, Sappho is Dead. Sappho is dead, said to a seminar full of men. I know you feel strongly, he lowered his eyes sympathetically toward my chest, about her fragments, but you need to face the reality that we have no way of knowing authorial intent in this or any other case. Shakespeare's bones lie moldering under the Stratford church, but I don't hear you singing his threnody. Yes, I too have read the seminal work of Barthes deconstructing the author and Foucault Frankensteining him back together again. I am here to tell the theorists to speak for themselves. While it may be true for you that linguistic signs are arbitrary conventions, that authors are cultural constructs, figments of our collective imagination, and that categories such as woman and lesbian, not that it would ever occur to you to mention bisexual, are not only fictional, but exclusionary and unwelcoming. While all this may be factually accurate according to the Norton Anthology of Theory and Criticism, I would argue, even if there were no causal relationships between morphemes and phonemes, the task of the poet is to create them. Does not onomatopoeia have an entry of its own in the Princeton Encyclopedia of Poetry and Poetics? Even though the mind of the poet is always unknown to the literary scholar, no body can deny there is a hand that writes, a mouth that speaks. Poets often live hand to mouth. We are not yet brains in jars. Artificial intelligence, too, must be stored in physical form. I tell you, the second coming of Sappho may yet be at hand. One fine day, an assistant archivist might very well unearth a box of previously undiscovered papyrus scrolls in excellent condition, almost perfectly preserved, containing a few hundred lyric poems in Aeolic Greek, together with musical notation dating from circa the early to mid-6th century BCE. On that day, a team of archaeologists will exhume the fragments of a tortoise shell and 7 shriveled strands of catgut at Mytilene. A battle for the soul of scholarship will rage. How many pages bright with fresh red stains? What internecine strife and treachery? Such promising careers cut off so young. Publishers will plan for the long war. In this year of plague and fire, and the implosion of the academic job market, truly, I tell you, the second coming of Sappho is at hand. For even as we speak, a small dark woman in a linen bedsheet walks with her harp along the Brooklyn Bridge. She circles the police and city halls and passes by the 2 construction sites near 40 Wall Street and the Stock Exchange, then pays the ferryman. Liberty may be closed to the public, but will that stop her? Like a quince apple ripening atop the golden torch, is she singing a folk song, chanting a manifesto? Though the words are unclear, it is Sappho's voice that unmistakably resounds through the ocean air. Hundreds of thousands of bi and lesbian women take up her chords, from Broadway star sopranos to those who never thought we could carry a tune. We thrill, we throb, we thrum, for music sweeter than honey on our tongues. Sappho has come again, and with her we come, again and again and again. Someday, when you are as dead as Shakespeare, someone, femme, plural, will remember us. Oh, and 2 things. Some of the quotations in that poem are from Mary Barnard, the OG translator of Sappho. And our next reader, I believe, is Alison Prine. Everybody give it up for Alison.
Hi, thank you, Samantha. Thank you for that great introduction, Mary, as well. I love that poem. I'm really looking forward to hearing the other Headmistress poets. Thank you so much, Mary, for gathering us here for the end of Pride Month. So I'm Alison Prine. I am reading to you here from Burlington, Vermont, and I'm going to be reading from my book, Loss and Its Antonym, which won the 2023 Sappho Prize and with Headmistress, and it just came out in March. I'm going to start by reading a poem it's the longest poem in this collection, which is mostly very small poems. This poem is called Strayed. Peonies in bloom remind a woman of the best sex of her life. At night, I cut blossoms from all the neighbors' yards to honor my mother's infidelity. She holds a cigarette to her lips in the last photograph of her before the accident. Every week, I take 1 cigarette from the pack and smoke it in homage to all women who try so hard to be good until they can't. The path backward is made of quicksand and the heavy breath of horses. My mother's lover is back there, a mosaic of other people's stories. It is hard to distinguish each element: locust blossoms falling from high branches, a full ashtray on the kitchen table, the smell of hard rain. Posture of a woman ready to step from one life to another. I was small when I got lost in a pasture, somewhere close to home yet unrecognizable. I tried to calm this memory of horses and grasses as I survey the trail. I hear my parents fighting in the distance. The heart of a larger animal beats in my small chest. You can see my dead mother in the language of my hands. Here, the grass is wet with spittlebugs and dew. A pasture with 3 horses, very early in the past. I wonder if she felt heard or only seen in a certain light. I wonder if she wanted in or wanted out. At the end of the backward path, there are sparks and shards and an accordion of steel. The shadow of the locust tree breathes. The surface of the lake breathes in the darkness, sheets on the empty bed, the mourning dove resting on the pavement. Sand on the backward path breathes. The bramble at the edge of the pasture breathes. The dog anxious at the door of the past. Snow at the scene of the accident. The child I was, asleep in the wreckage, was breathing, but my mother, the other woman of a stranger, ceased. Wishbone. For a while, I could run freely down the sidewalk. I had no mother. My sister worried at our father's wedding that because she was 7 when our mother died, we would lose our stepmother when she turned 14. She believed loss was divisible by 7s. She gave me a green rabbit's foot glued to a keychain. I felt its small bones through silky fur. My sister scanned the ground for pennies, stepping carefully over pavement cracks. She pulled her lashes out, but it didn't work. Her calculations were off. Our stepmother died when she turned 21. Coming out. I knew when the small plane I was riding touched down in the fog. I knew watching my stepmother's hands working the rock garden behind the house. I didn't want the circle to close. I couldn't see myself in the dress, so shaven. I knew because I loved to move through water, the way it yielded, the way it took me in its mouth. I knew watching our hound Mutt when he slipped out of the leash, the joy he had escaping. I just wanted to sleep in the wild strawberries with my chopped off hair. Loss and its antonym. The opposite of losing you was watching you across the purple light of the dance floor and the local gay bar while the salt trucks dragged through the streets. We had our people back then. Janet all night at the pool table and Kevin by the men's room, a little drunk and smearing his mascara, and our song, an anthem for falling hard into each other's lives. That winter, we proved that being terrified doesn't prevent you from being happy. Even when the guy on Church Street threw a bottle at us and called us dykes on our way back to my place, where we ate ice cream out of the carton at 2 a.m., drunk on our bodies, and the snowstorm, and a conversation I can't remember, but we're still having it. I want to learn to write about the loves that haven't died. Yellowed paperbacks with broken spines, the stillness of the lake from the fishing pier on winter mornings, the people in this small city I sometimes recognize on the sidewalk, a decade after our bar shut down. There's a series of poems towards the end of this collection that are all entitled Letter to Time, and it's a series just representing this sort of ongoing conversation that I've been having with time. I'm going to read a couple of them. Letter to Time. I am still unclear. Do I follow you or do you follow me? This I know. We are always moving through each other and therefore we are reformed. No matter how much this morning slants with familiar light. No matter how you sweep your hands across your face in the old way, I can't be who I was. A young woman on a black pebble beach with her woman lover asleep in her arms. They say you are flying. Is it true? I think this is also what I'm doing. I look heavy, but I'm free. Letter to Time. I can't stop thinking of the sound of your voice. Foghorn, school bell, oscillating fan, and your strange devotion moving me further into myself, but also closer to my death. Your soft breath on my cheek, I can't leave you. I don't always like the ways you touch me, sometimes tentative, sometimes dragging me too hard. We still dance, but it's different now. Remember how long ago I used to try to push you ahead? Now you always lead, and I lean in, whisper, slower, please. I'm going to read one more from this collection and then one poem that's newer, too new to be in this book. Far North. Spring rolls in hard, swift, brash, heedless. Box elder saplings, blackberry, and burdock break ground any place we leave alone. A dozen dark purple tulips sprang up by the front steps. Did we plant them? Another gesture I can't remember. What I conceived, things I once said with such conviction. How I got from there to here. I am not the person who moved here from Pittsburgh decades ago, but I feel her inside me. Earnest, righteous, drowning in want. I find a broken blue egg in front of our house, and I want to ask my wife if she believes it is an omen of loss or a beginning. Sometimes I find her crying in the shower. I'm struck by all I can't take from her hands, like the water running between them. Long love. Blur of years stirs in the room on a bright February morning. I have studied your face for 10,000 days. Long shadows across the untouched snow, your winter split fingertips against my spine. Tone color of your voice that has said my name more than any other. Ragged with grief, hoarse with desire, warm tenor of dailiness. When our love was illegal and we were young, we promised not to promise, didn't we? Didn't we say we'd just begin again? Thank you so much. And now we get to hear the poems of Anne Myles.
So I'm Anne Myles, and this is my book, Late Epistle, which won the 2022 Sappho's Prize in Poetry. And it was also a finalist for the Eric Hopper Prize in Cover Design, which was exciting. It came out a year ago this coming week, and I've had some wonderful experiences reading it all around North Carolina and elsewhere, and I'm so grateful to Headmistress Press for making that possible, as well as for the event today. And I live in Greensboro, North Carolina now, before that in Iowa, more recently in Greensboro. So Late Epistle looks back, from a point of crisis and change over the speakers, that is my life from childhood to the near present, examining how the speaker became this queer person and poet, including but not limited to the mysteries of love and sexuality and loss. I'm going to read a selection of poems that Mary said she particularly likes, which do seem to form a nice kind of mini arc. The first is called What Is. Decades ago, mulberries dropped on my back porch. Useless, oversweet, they made me think of love I longed for. Now in my yard again I chop their shoots, insistent, and I beat back images, dizzying, still of her, wanting to want what is. At night, last out among cicada song, I watch Mars burn a small hot heart. The air is silvery with moonlight. It pours through everything. Belong, belong, it tells me. I am a part. And this is a prose poem called Red Door. And it is based on an actual house that I revisited this summer, though the person I was haunting before no longer lives there. The red door is stopped. The red door is through. The door is enamel, hot and almost tacky in its southern exposure. Sometimes the door shines and drips with rain. The door is a rich and lickable red like the hard candy coating apples. The door is red as burlesque lipstick, as scarlet silk. The door is a siren. Out and in is before and after. I dreamed so long of knowing what was behind it. I waited in the car. I drove around the block while I fantasized about running up the walkway and trying the handle. I was afraid to look if anyone was home. I imagined if I knocked, there would be no sound. The red door is the door of a house. I should have said that already. It has a peephole and brass numbers. A woman watches her children play on an antique rug on the other side. It looks like picture books, but not everyone gets to live in a house like that. I imagined what it would be like to step through that door, to feel with my own hand the smooth and solid opening. Sometimes all I can think about is going through the door, but when I stand in front of it, I don't want to anymore. I admire things that are impregnable. They make me feel so queer. Still, a door is a passageway. How would Persephone have been taken to the underworld without one? I picture a red door in the ground, pried violently open. So much is down there, let me tell you. The counter heart, the counter house, the charnel house, the first nothing the world's roots grow from. And this is fever, and I think it helps to know as context that I originally wrote it in the first month or two of COVID when we didn't know what was coming for us day to day. Fever. I recall of it her bedroom piled with books under the slanted roof, flannel sheets fuzzed with dog hair, smelling of her hairy dogs, and the comforter I pulled up shivering. Below, she was playing cards with her old friends, but I knew she held on to the thought of me like keys inside a pocket you can't stop touching. Their voices drifted up. The whole house hummed with secrecy, that I was there, her cherished one. How many years I'd shaken with pure longing just to be beheld, to come inside, to stay. Sooner than I expected, the friends were gone. She drew me a hot bath, and my fever broke, and the night was still, and just the two of us, and I slept curled by her warm back and thighs. How many years, so I can barely now remember what fever feels like. Waiting for what might come and what I can't imagine coming back again. Alone, I press my hand to my own forehead, call some faceless, vast beloved to behold me now, some tenderness without a name to rise and hold me precious in this house of flesh. Like many lesbians, I was a horse girl in my youth, and this is titled In a Field. Watching those horses grazing in the distance in someone's pasture beside the highway, I feel the ancient sway and open a book of knowledge held perfect in my body, asking why on earth I kept giving up whatever I delighted in on earth. So many horses I barely remember now, the one stepping surely as I held my breath on narrow mountain paths, those that joggled me past lava flows and steaming rainbow brooks, the worn camp horses circling a ring where the field fell long from pines and sky. Further back, to my one own horse, red mare who sailed me across stone walls as the woods flashed by and my heart exploded, and back to the bitter bargain that I'd let her go. Back earlier to the childhood barns where I hid among the bales in the drifts of moat swirled light and the earthy reek of warm manure, watching whiskered lips finger hay toward toward lolling pink gum tongues. Back before that even, before I touched the warmth of a muscled chest or haunch, before my first teacher said, 1, 2, 3 up, hoisting my knee as I opened to the saddle. Before that, I was always drawing horses, my pencil stroking manes, arched neck, dark eyes, half of what I conceived as beauty. And before that, even there was me and my best friend, butts in air as we tried to go four-legged, gallop, jump, snorting and whinnying at one another as if we were innocent yet to human language, aching with that eternal wish for horses. Still, at times, I felt that I was changing, knew exactly what I longed for, and for a minute it was me. Drink of water here. And these are the final two poems of the book. Unspeakable. It would feel like when you dip a hand in the lake in August and the water surrounds it, warm as your own blood. It would carry the way the scent of pine floats childhood into the open field you ride through, or the sting of sage promises everything unknown. It would flow into the old shape of devotion, without her face, her name, still a hunger to bow down to something, whether there's a face in it or not. Beyond that, I don't know. I recall making love once with a woman on the ground deep in the pine barrens. I gazed past her to trees and sky. Fill me, I thought, opening myself to the human and inhuman. And in my heart, I couldn't tell which one I called most to in its otherness, what longing traced the arc of my desire. So I can't say what it would look like. I would name it if I could. And this is the final poem. I am waiting for the trumpet to sound, for a new life to begin, whatever that may be, or else to finally know my one life is the only one and to love it enough to make it new. I am waiting like trees wait for the slow creep of the ivy. When comes flourishing? When strangulation? I am waiting like a broken-handed statue waits to be mended, and I am the branch waiting to fall and crack it again. I am the rain and the rust and the hole. I am watching the pot of my own aging. Will it boil? Will it evaporate? I am waiting for a nearly imperceptible touch, or to remember what touch is. For when I will turn the page and finally learn how to conjugate the language of desire, it will rise in my throat, it will slick my palms as I lift them up in a gesture of healing, as I lay them upon myself. Sorry. I am waiting for the shoe to drop. I am the shoe lost behind the shoe rack. I am the white and calloused foot. Who is there to tell about it? I am telling you who are waiting in your way. In these measures we share, this aria, one trill and another suspended before the close, renewing yet once more. In our ecstasy, our dread, our again and still. Thank you all very much. Our next reader will be Elizabeth Wilson.
Hi, everyone. Thanks, Mary, and all the readers here for this great event, taking us out of Pride on a great note. This is the book I'll be reading from, Window Panes, which was the 2021 Sappho's Prize in Poetry. I am going to start with your sister brings me an orchard. Each day after class, we sit on steps together and she pulls apples from her purple backpack. We talk about impact, the body in relation to space, in relation to the body, or the body in relation to itself, the body in relation to another body. I talk circles like rings inside a tree, suggesting growth, but I'm going nowhere. I suggest things. I don't indicate my need directly. I am more ashamed than afraid of judgment. I think about baptism. I would drown for you. I would deny my body to protect you. I crouch, walk with bad posture, because I'm afraid of taking too much space. I'm afraid my body will speak ahead of me. Nights I sleep with you, I bend and crease myself into the sheets, the way I cover this paper with my hand. This next poem is called My Mouth is Penitent. I try to appear as casual as the woman beside me at the bar, the one whose black suit I've been hanging on to all evening. I'm afraid of conversations I will never have. I would tell her I want to kiss her, but my mouth is full of winter, dead leaves, and clattering branches. There is nothing lush between my lips. I dream my teeth crumble in my hands. I should tell her I'm afraid of kissing, but she won't believe me. Instead, I read her lips, watch her tongue lick her finger, turning page after page of my biography. I have no idea what time it is. The next poem I'm going to read is I want to kiss her while she's still a stranger. My teeth clamp steadily. My mouth dries instantly. I abandon myself. I begin small acts of covering. My cupped hand hovers over my mouth when I talk, eat, laugh. I don't move to kiss her. I practice saying goodnight. My lips part, small gestures of leaving. The next poem is, the title comes from a conversation I've had with my partner who was teaching in a maximum security male prison. And She, when I was worried about her safety. So this is something that she said to me. You say you feel safer locked up. Our first year on the farm, I wouldn't let you go to the grocery store alone. I stopped whatever I was doing, clambered into the car beside you, believed my presence could protect you. Now, when you drive away to teach men in the Max facility down the mountain, I wonder if the state trooper idling on the overpass ramp will catch you in his speed trap. Will he notice your license marked female, your boy body in the driver's seat? I beg you to obey the rules, traffic signs, speed limits. What I really mean, don't call attention to yourself, as if you could be visible only to me at night when the world softens and blurs. And I think I'll just close with this poem. We have a lot of readers to get through. This one is called My Marriage. It was written a long time ago. We each have our sides. 6 years now without a license. I could leave easily, walk out the door, out of our childless lives. Nothing holds me to my side of the bed, my back to the wall. I cup you in my curled body, murmur under my breath. Yes, I do. Take you, choose you. Vows we speak each time we share an avocado. You carve out the fruit. Show me the hollow boat. Thank you so much. I'm going to turn it over to Annie Christian.
This is my book, The Vanguards of Holography, and I was the 2020 winner of the Sappho's Prize in Poetry, and the book was published in 2021. Great. Heaven is a soundstage built to make drugged soldiers more fearless. I see her at the coffee shop, and my spirit becomes encased in a glass box with what else exits my body. Angels put my hands in water, lean in to perform. Caffeine is crystals, I tell her, but maybe I won't speak to her again for a whole year. Maybe we will lie beneath a low-hanging noose in the mine shaft, our ears touching the rope to hear its sound. I was told never to visit her, but the most exciting start to a relationship is when a woman can read my aura a little bit and her first emotion isn't hate. They know all about the rods and cones, she says, but I want her instead of the sharpening of blades. From the building's frame, they tell me, clitoral stimulation without penetration is immature. I suspect they want to enter me that way, of my own accord. She does too. That's mine, I scream as a red lever appears under my armpit and she knows to pull it. I'd like to think that means my cloned body on another planet actually hooked up with her. I still want her. Why else were proportion grids drawn on top of her, if not so I can remember her as ideal? If you see all the whites around one man's iris, his body contains too many angels. In the future, this is how robot cops find gay men to put in internment camps. They measure the whites of their eyes. But no one could ever think of these things if they weren't offered up during deep underground military base meetings. War will never end because heaven is a soundstage built to make drugged soldiers more fearless, and angels need a place where they can have at you. I accepted Jesus into my heart, but it was only a bird that gave up flight who wanted to enter me that way. We never really touch anyone because of molecules. Kubrick himself was reported as being tearful, wandering around the set of the huge centrifuge after filming on 2001 was complete. AV forums. Anyone can wear molecules of what they say they represent, but I need yours. The boombox I place over my head outside your window records proof of your existence, though colliding isn't actually touching. I described the rings of Jupiter into the tape recorder before NASA reported on them, a symbol as a surgical tool. And if we were all mathematical gear wheel cutouts, the first programmable device, that means you are too. All I know is that a fallen one who is not in your body is in hell. My brain fills in the rest. In the documentary, I made a Valentine's Day card that said, "I love Mama because she keeps a gun at her bedside table." But the filmmaker said that wasn't a good reason. I told him he never had to realize, while naked and bleeding, how even the color of his front door could set someone off in this world. I just wanted to trick him into saying he was there too. One family kept all concepts of time and dates away from their daughter. Another child broke her bones for attention. My church has a sanctuary just for this I built for you. These days, the equivalent of 13 people taking off their clothes, trying to make the calendar work with 1 or 2 blank days I'm trapped in, is heavy on my mind. I saw Jupiter's rings, but in the folds from one moment to another, it's not a face, it's a city. It's not space, it's a black rectangle inserted in the frame. In Revelation, John wrote locusts. Vietnam vets say Cobra helicopters. Or John just had a vision of a helicopter movie, and the movie was only made so John would see it. A widescreen cinema screen and the monolith from 2001 share the same dimensions. People my age know all about the special children with electrodes on our heads, moving military milk cap coinage with our minds, being asked how we feel. I still haven't gotten paid. I only left my body to access the doctored photo of Jupiter's rings. No actual ones exist. Some human-looking face in a stone wall or in the chalk toss pre-game ritual isn't what you are. It's just what helps me to survive. The vanguards of holography. He realized at once that he shouldn't have spoken aloud, and that by doing so, he had, in a sense, acknowledged the stranger's right to oversee his actions. The trial, Kafka. We know that when your kids hear adults scream, they don't yet have a need to apologize just to make it stop. But we need this excitement. As gregarious scientists of humans, only one of us can play out in your brain long enough to build a map of your home. In the meantime, I need to hear you cry more than once in public. I use ultrasound to disrupt the air around your hologram and insert a tumor inside of it. You are going to become infected without us anyway. I could just see us holding a skull, asking the youth to reach inside while you get sick. It's not possible for us to gain anything by pretending to like you, so we work on you while we are very upset with you. Each dissected piece of the mouse brain contains the whole, so nothing we've done to you is irreversible. If it weren't for the glitch, I would be sitting in court right now with lots of work to do in 2001 with Al Gore as president. Though I destroyed the Buddhist ruins, the 3D light projection replacement was going to create many jobs, but no one else saw it that way. I won't go back. I was here first with devil clip art. I will make Tupac my student. So many people are writing down their intentions, sprinkling the paper with blood, and uploading it to the internet. I know all about it. Space is water, compasses are spears of destiny, so that's why they were removed as Monopoly game pieces. Every compass points to me. Be content with the iron as we tell you all the things about yourself you don't know. We are the vanguards of holography, and I'm blocking your way from the memory of the earth. Yeah. Paper machines. Keanu Reeves and I actually got married in Dracula, she told Entertainment Weekly. No, I swear to God, I think we're married in real life. Winona Ryder. There are things I can pour into you to make a campaign, with a part of my foot touching home plate somewhere to exude a greatness. Mom says someday I won't need to imagine 4 angels with their open mouths aiming light toward me just to get out of bed in the morning. But the guidebook says I've already lost if I think in terms of the future. I swear to God, I think we're married in real life. Once you have a mind domicile, you can put anyone in there. The decoder ring fits twisted into cardboard, turned towards Saturn. The taste of blood I imagine to invoke a demon. I don't feel bad about it. The pentacle on a round transparency taped to a flashlight aimed at your passport photo. Even the drawing of the circuitry of the death ray gun can work if I touch it. At 3 hours before an event, things are totally unchangeable, so I have until then. You have no idea how things happen here anymore. I had a dream you gave birth to a boy. I cupped his head close and said, relieved, it's him. I need better ways to thatch our minds together, but I can spin around and around if I start to lose it. The original Hebrew was smudged on accident, how it stays in all future spellings, because we can't bear to lose all the fury poured into the damaged talisman. That's all a language is, planets that give in to everyone's same opinion of how best to inflict pain. Our past could go either way now if you let it. I'm never supposed to lift the pen until I write all it is I want. When robots are born, they're adults. David, let's play global thermonuclear war. Joshua, fine. War games. Adam did have a mother, but it involved time travel. He, like us, was having the experience of a first-person perspective, and if he just asked for something and looked around for it, it came, just like when humans ask for owls. Lilith arrived not knowing if she was waking up chained to a 30-year-old farmer who was just born, a murderer on a feedback loop, or a techno-god asking to be argued with, like it is with all relationships. She left because she wanted to be the alpha frequency he entered into and not the other way around. But later he met a human little girl who looked just like his wife would have looked eventually if she would have been born as a baby, and she seemed happy. So he was glad he held on to the relationship until the true end. When Eve came, there was something they weren't supposed to do, which was improve themselves beyond the bounds of the membrane separating the ocean from hell, but they did. They found out World War III is deadlocked because demons began feeling emotions after inhabiting human bodies, which everyone thought was impossible, like when men enter women's bodies. Demons started second-guessing themselves at the hockey stadium under the ocean where they inject neurological toxins into the cloned bodies of celebrities. Participating in nightly consciousness transfers is how celebrities are allowed to stay famous. Really, it's the linchpin to all military conflicts home and abroad. When Adam and Eve merged with humanity without permission to try and make humans think World War III is their own good idea, it was still a matter of pride regarding which non-humans get humans to consent to war first. The programmer robed Adam and his wife in light, and his ex-wife attended their deaths, later using a self-modifying code to forget she had. In religious art, the Trinity is the most difficult thing for painters to render. You don't have to be human to mistake love for consciousness that can be carried away on light. Drunk historicity. Joseph's teleportation staff found in a recent archaeological dig with all messages to the pharaoh stored and intact. Now I know we had no money, but I was rich as I could be in my coat of many colors my mama made for me, Dolly Parton. Everyone wanted to know why Rachel just gave birth to a lizard, and Jacob explained to all of his sons that this is baby Joseph, and he's a chief administrator, and when he's old enough, he'll wear a coat of many colors his mom will make for him. Nanobots and clay surrounded by silicon for the bots to link to and transmit a human body. His sons were like, fuck that, but okay. As soon as Joseph started talking, he told his brothers they would all bow to him, and his autonomic nervous system would be powered by their children's fear. When Joseph got his coat, so many people started offering him no-interest loans and asking him to rule them. His father loved it. His brothers noticed if they stressed Joseph out, like by calling him a reptile or shouting out the names of the coiled spirits they could see spinning in the back of his head, his face would glitch, as if it was a steel pin impression toy that someone punched. Joseph's coat was running on some new Coke formula shit-level math, but he was beautiful most of the time, like a Canaanite Donny Osmond. Soon his brothers tossed out Joseph, stole his holographic coat, and put goat's blood on it to show their father. About 10 minutes after the father saw the coat, he screamed, why, not my miracle son. The coat contracted into a mesh ball drone that flew back to Joseph, unfurled, and then wagon forwarded him back into a human. Plus, the coat made him get sick high from the blood, which was its second main function. Fast forward about 20 years, and Joseph was now right-hand man to the pharaoh because Joseph had wings, which meant he came from the royal line of Alpha Draconis, just like the pharaoh. Joseph saw his brothers one day shopping for wheat, so Joseph gave them riches and all the wheat they could carry, but the wheat had a GMO signature that meant all future crops grown from that seed would belong to the pharaoh. Plus, the pharaoh met the family and basically said, yeah, take care of my livestock. All along, the father wanted to be reptilian, so he asked Joseph to inject him with this proboscis, which Joseph did even though it doesn't work like that, so Jacob just died painfully with a bunch of perverts watching. When it was over, Joseph pressed a button on his staff, told the pharaoh, it's done, dude, and then teleported back to continue on with packing nines and stacking dimes. That was all foretold in Joseph's prize-winning dreams. All right, so I just have one more. I've been timing myself, so I'm like, I have 1 minute and 55 seconds. This one was inspired by my trip to the Arctic. I went on a Arctic Circle residency, so I wrote this one while I was there. Floating cathedral as political metaphor. Even in our day, science suspects beyond the polar seas, at the very circle of the Arctic pole, the existence of a sea which never freezes and a continent which is evergreen. H.B. Vlatsky. It's been weeks since I've seen newscasters manifesting demons on the left side of their faces. Instead, our boat scrapes ice, a counter speech to spinning systems, the look of the spiritual. See, there are many mansions for you to never die in, the artists say, pointing to themselves. Strange how they all use similar expressions, weaving these hidden no-kill movements with a minute of arc. Someone wants us for all we're worth. A man wearing an orange t-shirt, shorts, and flip-flops sits on a couch lining the shore where the airship left and crashed. He's one of those children who thinks his father was the Zodiac killer, like the man who once told me pencils can't be used in space because graphite dust can hurt cadavers. I hear parachute candidate, stalking horse, 1,000 points of light, the invocation ritual that keeps the Earth's inner sun burning, and then those things drop from the sky. A wave hits us and afterwards we inspect each other and our eyebrows didn't change. But I'm not allowed to go near the scientist because I have a cold sore. This is what it's like to be this far north, this close to the Omphalos, the network's green hollow. NASA blocked it on Google Earth just so we'd finally notice it. Then the mad captain puts a hand up a skirt and sails by, putting that same hand in water. I never said it was attached to him. This can reduce fuel consumption in Arctic waters, he says. I run to look where the engine should be, and all I see is VHS porn. In a gestural way, we're in a boat-shaped dip. The Norwal, the tank man getting run over at Tiananmen, your body as a world axis. Really, we all just moved to an almost identical new world, looping at a moment you don't notice. The sky has changed, as the Inuits say. After this trip, I vow to knit a red scarf in the white snow to check the blood type of the Arctic minor descendants and not to let another weird thing enter my body. All political metaphors are meant to be taken literally. Thank you very much for listening. That was the end. And next up is Samantha Pious.
Thank you, Annie. Thank you, Elizabeth, and Anne and Allison. Those were amazing. So we've had, oh my God, we've had sci-fi, we've had nature, past and present, and family history and personal history. I guess I'm gonna read, I think I'm gonna start out with some Gothic. Haunting the house. I lock the door. I am the door. The door is locked, closed up for good. In the cellar, unwashed clothes. In the attic window, a neighborhood. All the doors are locked and barred. Parlor windows shuttered tight. An iron weather vane stands guard above the bedroom in the night. The floorboards creak. I am the floor that moans and shivers after dark, while the couple, having snuggled, snore. The oven burns. I am the spark that leaps and catches musty drapes. I am the fire devouring doors and floors and drawers and all escape. The fire that quickens and restores. And now, at last, I am the ground, my embers charred. That bright blue rose, where the iron blade was melted down, sets and rehardens. Nothing grows. Body geography. I've charted maps, but never marked a path through my terrain. Brush, foul winds, volcanic blasts, and monthly tidal waves all sent my settlers scrambling for their ships. The wild, wet jungle hid a dark, damp cave where someone once had sheltered from the storms, and priests, imagining those tremors meant their god was dying, no one would be saved, inscribed the walls with purple prophecies, which, rightly read, foretell frigidity. One heretic, in soft red hieroglyphs, she warns of crow's feet, moles, and spider veins before the birds and bees begin to breed. Who knows what demons haunt those headland cliffs? Fat. Say is the frame of the queer androgyne. Full is the figure that I must call mine. Fold is the back making room for a bra. Fall is the action of gravity's law. Flip is an hourglass turned on its head. Fuck is what thin people do in a bed. Fine is the dapper dyke rocking a blazer. Flood is the blood that will drain from this razor. Flab is the stuffing no razor can flay. Floor is the ladies' man. Follow this way. Face is so pretty, it's really a shame. Fate is the freedom to give this a name. Cross country. A high-speed train ride has the tingling thrill of slipping on some pants, serge gray, let's say, like rain clouds drifting low above a lake that stretches on for miles beyond the tracks, connecting country town to country town. Wrestling with cream or ivory cups, thrice cursed invention of a bygone age, one hoists one's luggage up above the seats and grunts to feel the weight, at last, released. The restroom is the tucking in of tails, one, two, down past one's boxers toward one's knees, and it's to pull a serious-looking book out from one's backpack and begin to read, to choose one's favorite belt from many others, and having poked the little leather head meticulously through each and every loop, to cinch the belt like that above one's hips. Woods rush by as intimate as the tie, dark burgundy or lilac. I unfold and knot around my neck as if by heart, and fields as woolen as the serge gray sleeves I thrust my fingers through, then my whole arms, below an afternoon as bright and deep as what I'm lacing on my size 6 feet, to make the look complete what could remain, a forceful man to show me what I lack, the cargo train to my straight, narrow track, a femme, the hills to roll below my train. I think I'm just gonna do maybe one or two more. Go to, okay. Failure. At 16, your ambition was to be as great as Joan of Arc, but 3 years later, still very much alive, a second-rater, you read The Well of Loneliness and fell from women's lip to lesbian poetry. Not that you were. You still liked men a lot, but girls with pixie cuts were pretty hot. You wrote a bit, obtained a boyfriend, split, got into grad school. You were 23 and hoped a PhD would open doors. It has. Now look at you. You're 34 With one book out, 2 others on the way, and no relationship. What's left to say? Without a muse, I doubt this stuff will sell. One more. Think, let's do, eeny, meeny, miny, mo. Okay, let's do fairy tale. At first, I wanted to be a princess, but I didn't know how to bake bread or clean house, and I never could take care of children. Briefly, I considered being a hero, but I was neither strong nor generous, and the horses I rode turned to ashes in the morning. I tried to learn witchcraft, but the slow wisdom of forests eluded me. The coven made it clear I was not one of them. Now I am building a tower, book by book. Sometimes I disguise myself as a minstrel or a merchant's wife and sing dawn songs at the fish market where a merwoman waits for the aquarium keepers to toss her a bit of herring. Soon, I will place one last volume above the watch room, climb the spiral stair, and set the lantern alight. Then we will shatter our cage and sail into the velvet night. Thank you.
Can everybody please unmute and show your video self so we can just like applause these incredible readers? And like, yes.
Beautiful.
Woo! Yeah.
I loved it.
Great. Great. Thank you so much, Headmistress Press, and all of you. Amazing, amazing poetry today. Wow.
Wonderful.
My favorite way to end Pride,
Yeah.
to like open it right back up.
Yeah. Let's not end
Comfortable
Pride. Let's
space.
just keep going.
Mhm.
Pride unending. Yes, Liz.